circles here where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come one, come all, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. Inner Circle podcast where love is well known.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle podcast. Today is Tuesday, October 7th. Man, the year is already coming to an end. We are in the fourth quarter already, so this has been a fast-moving year. So, tonight we'll be talking. The trending topic right now, shutdown. Right, it's like everywhere you go, the government is shut down. How is that affecting us? How is that affecting travel? So we'll be taking our own spin. What happens when the U.S. government shut down. So I'm your host, Abe Kamara. I'm here with my man, Peterson from the windy city of Chicago. I hear that, the National Guard giving you guys here, dude. So, anyway, welcome to the show, Peterson.
Thanks. Yeah. This is Peterson from the great windy city, Chicago, where we never have a dull moment. If it's not ICE agents repelling off of Black Hawk helicopters in the city, it's National Guard troops being deployed here. But yeah, this is a great conversation. Join in.
Yeah. Well, folks, you can contribute to the conversation tonight by putting a comment in the chat or calling our number 952-594-5154. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, on LinkedIn, X, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation tonight. My man Peterson and I will try to put our own spin around this and provide some real life data, from our own lens. But Peterson, before we get into this, right, just tell us, right, in terms of what on your mind, man, you got to tell me more what's going on in Chicago there, what's going on in Illinois, what's up with the windy city of Chicago is like, because, tell our audience, man, what's up with Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago, like I said, we never have a dull moment if we are not in the news for the corruption or something. Then it's like, according to this administration, Chicago is almost like the crime capital of the world. So if you think about it, a few weeks ago, we we're talking, and I said Chicago is not even on the top 10 when it comes to crime, whether it's violent crime or property crime or any of those. Chicago is not in the top 10, but it seems like this administration, the president, have targeted democratically led cities, and Chicago is one of the biggest cities in the country and is considered a democratic city. But I think a couple weeks now, ICE agents have been in Chicago ramping up their immigration crackdown, and now the threat of National Guard being deployed here, going back like a couple of months, is finally happening. Some of Texas National Guard arrived in the Chicago area earlier today. So, the governor, they sued the administration right away when the National Guard was deployed, but we're waiting to see what's going to happen with that. But all of this is just going to bring more anxiety and more confusion.
Yeah.
Because if you're in an urban area like Chicago, where you're not used to seeing, especially those like who were born and raised in Chicago, or they never left the states. This is
Hmm.
new to them. This is things that they see on TV, like, oh yeah, the U.S. is invading Iraq, or we just landed in Afghanistan, and you see
Yeah.
all these military folks parading around. So it's something like that. It's just going to stop the anxiety.
Yeah, and just for context, well, Chicago is the third largest city in the world. She says, like, it's the third largest city. It's a huge place. Those have been there. I've driven through. Every time going to East Coast, having actually made a stop there, but folks love it. It's a nice city. Obviously, Southside Chicago, right, is always in the news when it comes to you guys because it seems like something's always taking place there. But for every north side or south side, right, in the city, there's always something happening there. So it's not that's not unique to Chicago. But the other thing I wanted to know though, right, are there like ICE agents actually chasing folks on the streets? Is that something? Because sometimes you see some of these things on social media. It's okay, is this real? Is this really happening? I mean, I know you live low, I mean, in the suburb, right? You kind of are far away from there, but is it as ICE agents actually right going like chasing folks on the street? I mean, in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, within the city limits, those are images and videos and things that we've heard of or seen.
Mhm.
Like you said, I live about 1 hour away from the city.
Mm.
So I'm in the suburbs, and where I'm at is very unlikely for ICE or military troops to come out this way. But we have heard of people, not like they're not like chasing people in the streets, but there have been instances where there's been some violent interactions between
Mm-hmm.
ICE agents and some people who were considered law abiding, but
Mm-hmm.
because of either history, there was a incident I think a couple weeks ago where a gentleman got fatally shot by ICE agents
Mm-hmm.
because they said it was a targeted traffic stop because he was known to be like a reckless driver or something like that. So
Oh
I guess
wow.
they're using everything at their disposal as far as resources to say, okay, they're going to go into maybe the driving records and see, okay, who has this type of driving incidents, reckless driving. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not like the person have committed like a vehicular homicide or something, but just because they had that on their record and the traffic stop, unfortunately, it turned deadly for the person because they said they were dragging the ICE agents on their
Mm-hmm.
car or something. And
Mm-hmm.
then over the weekend, a lady was I think fatally shot by ICE agents because I think they were trying to apprehend her, and I don't know what happened in that incident. But yeah, they've been ramping it up, but I mean, some of this too is just scare tactics. It's not
Yeah.
like they are in every neighborhood going from door to door, and everybody have to like we in a lockdown or something. People have to
Yeah.
go hiding. No, it's not
Mm.
like that. It's
Yeah.
just, I guess, their presence. It just brings more anxiety to people. That's all.
I agree with that, right? I agree with you. It's like I think it's not only in Chicago, right? We hearing, I mean, it's happening in Portland, Oregon, right? Yeah, it's the same kind of a situation going on there. I think it's meant more like just to put fear in the immigrant population, right? Because as you can see now, it's like it has been like an increase, right? It's like I have never seen this all of my years in America, right? You always hear deportations and stuff like that, but it kind of cracked down and the enforcement and the way they are going about it.
Yeah.
There's even like an article in the Wall Street Journal, right? Is like how they are taking agents from like law enforcement officials from other agencies and
Hmm.
just making them ICE agents
Yep.
and going into every community, right? It's like rounding up immigrants that you see that okay, even if I wasn't born here, I'm an immigrant, but I said, okay, so is this going to affect me, right? You have to think twice, right? When
You
you hear
do.
these
You
things, I
do.
say, is it going to affect us? Is it? I mean, because sometimes you see when you see these images, you see marksmen in a max car, right? They grab you the next minute, you look, boom. It's like you end up in some detention facility. And the other thing too, right? It says like the immigration lawyers are overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Those in those professions, they are overwhelmed
Yeah.
because it's like you can't be you can't be find an immigration lawyer to represent you. And
Right.
maybe when you find it at this point in time, they're going to probably charge you like 10 times. Who's going to afford? So I think like to your point, it's actually a fear tactic and it's meant I think whether you're a citizen, green card holder, or here illegally, I think it just meant to put fear in all of us, right? It's kind of a scary, and to me, I don't see the end goal of it. Right?
Right.
I don't see the need, because it's like it is just it's just verifying like every immigrant. Okay,
I
why
mean,
you is like, yeah, the way you're going about it, is that a real way to actually go about it though? Every even the illegals have record in this country, man. They know how to yeah, those are even enter here illegally, right? They know how to get them.
yeah,
Do you really have to put a max agent on the streets to go after people? I think it's like, and then publicize it all over the place. And
yeah,
you have the DHS secretary like going in these on these missions. Is that really necessary?
yeah. I think that's part of the whole. We don't know what the end game is, but to publicize this whole like operation, like you said. So if they go into, I think we've seen videos of ICE agents going to like a car wash. Like they go in the car wash and people are running up, and then there is strategically they do it that somebody is there with a camera that is going to capture like this whole scene of ICE
Yeah.
agents running behind somebody and stuff. And this is it just bring a lot of fear and uncertainty into the immigrant community because, like you said, if I'm an immigrant, whether I'm a green card holder or I'm here on work visa or something. If I see that within my neighborhood of my place of work, I'm gonna think twice. Like, do I actually want to go for there? Now I have to. When I'm driving, I have to drive like carefully, follow. Maybe put my car on cruise control so that I can just drive at the speed limit. Don't want to go too fast. Don't want to go too slow. Don't want to draw attention to yourself. So this is a lot of fear tactics because, like we've said previously, there's always been like deportation, mass deportations during what's it Obama's, I think the second
Yes.
term.
Hmm.
There was a lot of deportations, but it's not something that was like uh put it out in the public like, oh yeah, this is such a good thing, this is what we are doing and stuff like that, where this administration is taking it as far as going after almost like every category of people in this country, like those who depend on crops like farmers and things like that. They depend on these laborers and things like that. And if people are afraid to come work in the agricultural sector, then food is going to be expensive, everything is going to go up. But I was going to bring up the gentleman from the Des Moines Public,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Guyana,
yeah.
and like I was telling my brother and other people that they're like, oh, we thought he was African. I said, yeah, I mean they're Africans, but when you see him, you would think it's an African. But for somebody in that type of role and position to be like targeted, where
Hmm. Hmm.
because it wasn't by mistake. They didn't just like pull him over and they said,
No.
"Oh, okay, it's you." No, they went after this guy, and then the school system finally revoked his position and
Hmm.
joy. But yeah, this is crazy. What's going on
Yeah.
out here?
Yeah, definitely. So the stuff Peterson is referring to, right? The superintendent of the Des Moines Public School, was for some reason, I think years ago he felt. I mean, he had something on his record. Okay, but to your point, right? That is something that before, like a public school or a school district hire you,
Yep,
right? Before a school district, and we're talking about the largest city in
the United
Iowa.
School District. Yep,
Okay, the largest school district in Iowa, right? The Des Moines, public school district, hired this guy as a superintendent. I think he's from Haiti. He's not from actually Africa. He's from Haiti.
yeah. I
You
think
know?
it's like Guyana or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
yeah, Ghana, yeah, one of those, yeah, one of those Caribbean countries, right? Okay,
that.
that's
Mhm.
where he's from. So it's like he got hired, but he had something. I think either a gun related something,
Yeah,
way back. Okay, that was just a minor stuff, right? I mean,
yep,
there's a gun country. Everybody can carry a gun. No matter
right.
you can walk to Walmart and buy a gun. But the fact that years later, I targeted him, it's like, okay, really?
Yeah,
Is that how far it is going now? You know what I mean? And to your point, everybody now, even like if you ever been, if you don't have your maybe citizenship, then you ever been in some in some kind of a trouble, you start wondering, so whoa, this thing is getting serious, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's taking on a whole life of its own. And as I said before, I think every immigrant has to be concerned, because it's just like it's putting native versus like immigrants against one another, because you feel that, okay, so why is this negative? I've said it many times on this platform, right? We've said it many times. We have said on this. Why out of a sudden is like immigrants have become like personal non grata?
Yeah.
You know, why out of a sudden why out of a sudden immigrants have become, I mean, the story, right? Why out of a sudden, like, it just become, okay, it's about crime, gotta get rid of immigrants from this country, right? And to your point, and to your other point earlier, man, if you travel, even hotels, who are those cleaning the hotels? Are immigrants. Immigrants are the one cleaning these hotels. Immigrants are the one cleaning these. I mean, cleaning job in this country, majority are immigrants.
Yep.
And some of them I can tell you they don't have papers.
The-
Okay. Yeah. Because someone with
yep.
legal document,
Hmm.
someone with legal document or green card, whatever, won't be doing those jobs. I mean, obviously, when you come newly, right, in trying to find your footing, you can do that. But after a while, with your status and everything, I mean, everybody in America is like that. The next minute you want to go up.
Yep.
So I think it's going to eventually, this whole thing is going to make life expensive here. And those native, those, folks who are rejoicing, oh, they're getting rid of immigrants from our country, man, I think it's something we all got to think twice about, right? Because this is just getting out of hand. And I can tell you, right, the Republican Party never even used to be like this. For out of a sudden, for it used to be a party of immigrant. Out of a sudden now, it's like, because businesses rely on
Of
immigrant labor,
course. Yeah.
on immigrant labor.
Yeah.
And now we find ourselves in this situation. Is like this increased enforcement, this, out of, like, out of, I don't even know how to describe the crackdown, right? It's like it's just out of hand, So I mean, I think it's going to actually increase price. We are not feeding it yet, but if they continue on this path and on this level, it's going to make things worse.
Yeah, it will. And I mean, majority of the service industry or the labor industry
Hmm.
is by immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal. Is done by immigrants, and like you said, if you go through any airports, you go through like mostly we talk about hotels. If you go to
Yeah.
hotels, if you go to like these high chain restaurants and things like
Hmm.
that, people
Hmm.
who are working in the back, people who cleaning these places, even the landscaping business. Like
Yeah.
few days ago, there was a young gentleman, a young Hispanic gentleman. He was across the street blowing like I think they have a contract with my neighbors, so they
Hmm.
were doing some yard work, and I was going to ask him if they can, since they have the riding mower, if they can
Hmm.
just come and do my
And do
yard.
your, yeah.
To my greatest surprise, he couldn't understand a word of English. So yeah, the guy he's young. It looked like he's in his like early
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I walked up to him like, "Hey, buddy, can you guys run your more?" And he just looked at me like,
What?
"What?" I'm like, "What?" So I
Yeah.
had to pull my phone out and go to like on the translation app, and I said, "Can you come and?" And he still couldn't understand even the Google Translate.
Oh wow.
So he's like, but I said, you know what? So trying to say he's gonna like reach out to his boss to
Yeah.
to contact me or something like that. But these are people that they are just trying to get by. A lot of them are just working, and like we keep saying, not majority of immigrants, just like sometimes they'll say, "Oh yeah, majority of fathers in the black community are not there." It's the minority few that gets all this publicity, and they try to put all apples in one basket. So
Yeah.
it's not like these guys are running around in every neighborhood committing crime and things like that. So. Uh, we said the administration they have to like think twice and go back to the drawing board, but at this rate, I don't know what's really going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, no one knows the end game, and I mean, obviously, glad that we could bring this up because I mean, it's a one of the trending topic, one of the trending issue, and it keeps, we have discussed this. even when immigration, when the whole thing, when the administration first came out, we have had immigration lawyers on here, but it's like it's just you thought when it first started, right? Everyone thought that, oh, it's gonna calm down, but it just feel like there's just another layer to it every
Yep,
day. There's something, there's another element of it every day that's happening. You
every
wonder,
day,
okay,
every day.
what is when? I mean, what is the end game here? Right? What is the goal here? Is the goal here to create chaos? And as we discuss this, where I think my appeal would be to every immigrant, as much as you feel like we want to empathize and sympathize with our fellow immigrants, I don't think anybody should demonstrate to the point where you cause violence. Any
Yeah,
demonstration should be peaceful demonstration,
of course.
right? Because
Yep.
no one know what it is that they want to do with this thing. People
Yeah,
start demonstrating. Even those natives that want to sympathize with the immigrant population, if you want to demonstrate, do it peacefully, right?
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
don't want administration to come go haywire and go and go crazy. And so
yeah,
then there's a war in the United States, right? We
yeah,
try to get rid of immigrants, and some lunatics trying to stop us, and
yeah.
so gonna go full force. So I think our message, to all immigrants out there or sympathizers of immigrants, you know what I mean, and with the crackdown that's going on, right? If you want to do whatever you want to do, demonstration, just be peaceful about it, right? You know what I mean? Just be peaceful and good about. Don't go throwing stones at ICE agents. Don't try to impede them from doing their job,
Hmm.
right? Stay and
No,
maybe
you're
wave a
right.
flag.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely
honestly,
right. You're right
yeah.
because a lot of this sometimes when you think about it too, they're trying to like provoke a reaction out of like
Hmm.
people because
Hmm.
if I'm a gun toting Second Amendment, patriotic person, and I see like military or National Guard troops within my neighborhood, who to say I'm not gonna go grab whatever arsenal I have and go stay on the on the street too? And now it's like, oh, okay. If something happens, say, oh, they were fearing for their life. They didn't know who you were because you came out like armed and stuff like that. But with the National Guard troops coming to Chicago, they say, oh, they are here to protect the ICE agents and property. So I'm like, and then to help stop crime. Th- that does not make any sense to
It doesn't.
me.
Yeah, it does.
Why
It
do
does.
you need for military to guard the military or
Yeah.
like another law enforcement? And Chicago already has huge police presence, so why do you need like all this? But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. I said, man, I'm glad we, discuss this a bit, but that's one thing that's trending, to all immigrants out there. We know these are tough times, but as I always believe that everything shall come to pass. We hope this whole thing come to pass, whatever the end game is, whatever the goal is. We hope, immigrants can be loved again, right? Because as I said, if you are even a law-abiding immigrant, if you are even citizen of this country as an immigrant, right now you feel like our back are against the wall. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Everything seems to be negative about us because they're not separating between those that are committing the crimes and those that are not committing any crimes. It's
yep,
just that, oh, we're trying to get rid of immigrants, try to do a crackdown, immigration crackdown. That's what you hear. So and now it's like even when you have an accent, they say like, man, it's like somebody somebody is it's like there was a I saw a recording in Chicago, right? The guy said, okay, this journalist was interviewing this it was not an ICE agent, I think it was a DHS official.
okay.
And he says, okay, who are you looking for? He said, well, anyone, because it was a white, a Caucasian journalist interviewing a Caucasian. I mean, this Caucasian dude. So he responds, well, anyone who doesn't look like you. Those are the folks
Who doesn't look like you, journalist?
who look. Anyone who doesn't look like this, I said, okay, so I guess it's all of us. So, folks,
Yeah,
it's
no,
serious,
that's
but it's a
a
funny stuff.
dangerous precedent they're trying to set
Yes,
because you can go after people just because they look and sound different.
different.
That's
Yeah, you assume, they are here illegally. That's just bunch of baloney, a bunch of BS. But
yeah,
anyway, folks, that's what was on our mind today, right? It's not only happening in Chicago, it's happening in Poland. And they said it might be going to other cities, and who knows. So we hope. And again, right, if you are trying to protest ICE agents, wherever you are, man, just do it peacefully. Don't impede their, enforcement order or whatever, and stay out of, don't fight. any law enforcement official, whether National
Yep.
Guard, ICE agent, whoever, right? Don't throw stone like damn, don't do that. Let us just be peaceful and see where this goes. But that's that. Let's get to well, it's like this one another interesting one, Peter. See, it's just like I said, send this administration keep, man. There's just like so much going on, right? Just like I mean, you had to keep up, but
Yep.
that's the environment right now we live in. So but anyways, another hard one is this whole government shutdown,
Yeah.
like whatever, right? So the US fiscal year like starts like October 1st to September 30. So whenever they can. And the weird part I see about the whole thing, right, is like this big country of almost 30 trillion GDP, and things like that, so much the US government is so huge, so big. Why every year they gotta do this whole budget
I,
thing? It's like it's crazy.
yeah.
It's just a crazy stuff. It's like this thing. It's like every year over year you hear this thing. It's like you wonder, okay, for some of us who came here, is that you wonder, okay, why do we even have to go through this like year after year? And it's like it keep happening over and over and keep getting worse. It's like you wonder, really? Can we
Yeah.
find a better way?
Yeah. We are of the same train of thought because when I first heard of like government shutdown, it was either during Obama's time or something like that. And
Hmm.
what do they mean by government shutdown? Like, what does that mean? And then they're like, that means some like non-essential employees or
Yeah.
people will either be furloughed or they will lose their job and they will not get paid.
Hmm.
But I thought if you work for a government, you get paid regardless. But I guess they have different departments that take care of those things. And then when they're talking about shutdown, they say partial
Yeah.
shutdown or
Yeah.
full shutdown,
Yeah.
and then they have to go to the negotiating table. And like you said, it happens every year. So something happens during that fiscal year that like, okay, we cannot bring back the same budget we used last year. I mean, of course, granted, even if it's for a company, when they do year to year budget, they
Hmm.
usually they will allocate things for different reasons.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would say, okay, well, last year our budget was $1 million. Now I'm going to increase it by 5%
Yeah.
because of inflation and other things. So we have to but it's a reasonable thing that they will drop the budget and then they will bring it to the board, or if they have a board of directors, and they will usually talk it over like, okay, well, this one we can do without, this one we it's necessary. But with the government being so large and in power, but
And so much depending on it,
yeah,
right? You wonder is like why should they fight be like every year after
every
year?
year,
Even though sometimes it doesn't lead to shutdown, but a year after year seems to be weird noise around this thing. Oh,
yeah,
if we don't pass this thing, sometimes it's
yeah,
been at the
uh,
11th hour, right?
yes,
Like on
yes,
September 30th,
yep,
midnight before September, like before like midnight scratch, before September 30th, right? It's like that's
yeah,
or before October 1st. That's when they will find some kind of a compromise, and then they avoid a government shutdown. But according to the history books, right, this modern budget process started like in 1976.
okay,
Where in like year after year they have to go through this process, and since then they said there has been like 21 funding gap, and out of those 21 funding gap, only 10 has resulted in actual like shutdowns, right, either partial or full shutdown,
yeah,
and things like that. So to your point, even though I mean it hasn't been like much, but 10 seems to be a lot. But it seems like year after year they keep arguing about things that doesn't really matter, right? Can you guys are adults, you guys
yeah,
are, can you guys find a compromise? Why like you have to make things so difficult? And at the end of the day, it affect a lot of things. Like I mean, air travel, like some of the things before we go. I hear a report today, like in your Chicago area, that Chicago area, air traffic controllers have started calling in sick
yeah,
because they are forced to work, but they're
yeah,
not getting paid.
yeah,
Imagine, imagine, imagine you go to and this thing has been going on now for a week, right? You think that man, these guys have come to their senses and say, look, man, let's try to find a compromise. But no, right? The White House, the Republicans, the Democrats, everyone is digging in, trying, on their own position. And so, but it's ordinary folks that are suffering. And
Yeah,
every non-essential services, to your point, are even canceled right now. Even the essential ones, those employees as decides, if you're not going to pay me, I'm going to call in sick.
yeah,
Yeah, I ain't going to
yeah.
show up there.
I heard the same thing about airport. I think somewhere in either California or something. It's either Oakland or somewhere where
Mhm.
they cancel. I think every flight because the air traffic controllers they didn't show up to work. But those services like air traffic controllers, law enforcement, and things, they are considered
It's
essential,
essential, yeah. So they have,
and
yeah.
they are supposed to normally they will remain in service, they will remain operational until there's a compromise, and for them they usually get back pay, so whatever they've missed, even though they've been working, they will get that funding once
Mhm.
the government shutdown is over. But to the point you are making, these are grown-ups and adults. These are some of the brilliant minds as far as policy and politics in the country. But sometimes they take this whole budget process, they take it so personal. It's not like this is not your, yes, it's going to affect your household, but this is not you versus me or us versus them. This is something that affects the population. It affects
Mhm.
the majority of people in the country. So when they talk about government shutdown, sometimes I heard, I think it was day one or day two, there was a lady that NPR interviewed about just receiving supplemental
Yeah,
food. She's on the
yeah.
food and she has, I think, 4 kids who
Mhm.
are all young children. And at one point, she was using WIC. And this is somebody in like either Vermont or New
Mhm.
Hampshire, like
Yeah.
North New England up there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
she's like, yeah, she depends on these things, like for her daily to keep her kids fed and to keep them healthy. But
Mhm.
if the food program, if it's not being funded, then if she goes to like the food pantry,
Yeah.
not being stocked either. So the whole thing, they just need to come to that compromise. But the White House press secretary, she was on NPR and she's like, "Yeah, the Democrats are the ones that shutting down the government, and we need them to to think about their constituents and everything." So the interviewer asked, "Okay, we are still paying taxes. And if you say the Democrats are the ones that shutting down the government or that caused the government shutdown because they do not want to compromise, what about negotiating what they want as far as healthcare?" And she's like, "Well, let's open the government, then we can talk about healthcare." So he's like, "Well, what if they want to talk about healthcare before the government opens?" And she said, "No, they need to come to their senses, and we need to get the government open. Then we can have this robust conversation or debate about healthcare." But those are things that are essential to other people because they
Mhm.
care about Medicare, Social
Mhm.
Security,
Mhm.
these things. So if it's something that is a sticking point for them, they're not willing to negotiate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so. A couple of points you raised there, I just want to expand on it. When it comes to the wake and SNAP, those are on food stamp SNAP. Those are considered non-essential. So the way the government is shut down, you can't if you're on food stamp. If you get your if you have gotten maybe your the benefit before the government shut down, that if that can carry you for a minute, fine. But if that's not enough, and then that funding dries out, guess what? You cannot, you're not be able to get food stamp or wake, nothing like that, right? Because those are considered not essential. And to the other point about the healthcare stuff that the Democrats are trying to argue about, I said 24, their argument is 24 million folks, will be affected
Mhm.
if the Obamacare subsidies are not extended.
Right.
Obviously, I mean, even for us who are in the employer pool, right, in the employer program, it says like the whole healthcare thing might what increase our our co-pays, our premiums about the what increase, right? So that
Yep.
means our paychecks, when it comes to healthcare, especially those with young families, by October 1st, when the about October 1st,
November.
November 1st,
Hmm.
when the new rates are set, and which takes effect January 1st of 2026, those
Yeah.
are going to be higher anyway. But a Republican has saying, okay, we know you are concerned about the 24 million, but let's pass this resolution for see how to call it continuing resolution first. And then after that, then we can talk about it. And Democrats saying, "Oh no!" So to my point and to your point, I think that's where is that we might have a little bit of agreement, like, dude, at the end of the day, right, you guys can find a compromise in
Hmm.
there because of ordinary folks, right? Ordinary citizens who are paying their taxes are being affected, you know. And then as this thing drags on, I mean, things about, the traveling public, like here in Minnesota next week, right? The kids are going to go on fall break called MEA. There's a real danger. I mean, that's one of the busiest travel season here in Minnesota. There's danger if this thing drag on up the next week. There might be a lot of delays, right? Because I said, I mean, if you go like 1 week, 2 weeks, you're not getting your paycheck. Guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna call. Is that not gonna
Of
work?
course.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably find. I'm gonna probably you say, well, let me just probably see if I can do Uber or do some kind of Amazon delivery stuff. You know, instead of me going down there and staying for maybe 8 hours or 12 hours, and I don't get paid. So
Yeah.
if this thing, if they don't get their ducks in the row and put their eyes together, if this thing drags on, right, it might have some real life consequences for folks out there.
Yeah, it will because uh, to the point you were just making, if I'm paying mortgage or pay rent and I'm not that mortgage company, they're not going to say, "Oh, okay, the government shut down, so let's just give you a couple of weeks until things can get back to normal." No, they want their money and they want it now.
Yeah.
And it's like what you say about bills. If I open my bill right now, my gas bill is not going to be like, "Oh, okay, well, usually it's due on the 10th, but." Because of the government shutdown, we're going to give you until the end of October. No,
Mhm.
so it's going to have a huge impact on just regular folks because if you cannot go to work, especially those that are considered like non-essential workers, yes, some of them will come back and will get back pay, but at the same time, what are they going to be living on until then? And just for the general population, these services, these are much needed services for people. You need to do something so that it can continue. And you don't usually think about it when we hear about, oh, the government's going to shut down. There's going to be a partial shutdown if there's no negotiation. Sometimes we don't think about it because we're just going about our daily lives like, oh, okay, well, what are they talking about? But when you actually sit and think about it like, oh, well,
Yeah.
this is going to have it's going to affect my family, then that's when you start to think about it.
And the other thing, right, for context, right, is like according to estimates out there, it's costing anywhere between 7 to 15 billion a day that the U.S. government is using in GDP. Like, I mean, GDP, right? It's like in GDP, United States is suffering. But I mean, it's like losing in terms of GDP, 7 to 15 billion a day. There's a huge economy, and for you to even, like for politicians to even do that, like as I said, year after year, considering the impact it can have on ordinary families, on the economy, it's just stupid, right? And then the other thing too, right? Like since 1990, right, the average shutdown, the average, days of shutdown like 8.7, and then the longest, I think my man really let the shutdown been it because the longest have been in your first term, you know, it have been that, that one went from December 2018 to January, January, like 35 days. I mean, that one went for 35 days, right?
Yeah,
So it's
that's a
like,
whole month. Think about that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, right? And it really, really caused a lot of damage,
yeah.
because I said, it's like, man, again, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, if you travel a lot, TSA agents, or even when, for our folks who are thinking about, the holiday season is coming, right?
Mhm.
Folks are maybe applying for their passport to renew their passport or things like that, trying to, especially those that are going international, right, going overseas. If this thing drags on and you probably want to be a December like you don't have your passport yet, guess what?
You will be on December, you will be on February.
Guess what? Guess what? If you don't have your passport yet, if you haven't applied for your passport, it might not happen. So
Yeah.
the more this thing drags on, right, it has real life impact. It has real life consequences. And even those that are working in the private sector, it starts showing up because, man, like the U.S. economy is so intertwined. The government, the private sector, they are so interconnected. So when the government is doing all this foolishness at times, it affects the private sector. It affects some of us that are in the private sector. It affects everyone. So it's not only and the services people rely on. You got the U.S. government provide lots and lots of services.
It
And the
does.
services people rely on
Mhm.
becomes affected. This one is season. A lot of people like to go to the national parks,
Yep.
hearing that these are not staff either, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fall season, one of the business season here. These are not. It's like folks are saying, It's real, right? If you're not paying me, why should I show up the work?
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
I can easily transfer my attention to the gig economy, as I said, to Amazon delivery, or to Amazon, or to or to or to or to Uber, or to Lyft, or whatever, right? Just to try to earn little income there. So if I'm not getting paid, I'm just going to focus on something else, because to your point earlier about bills, in America, bills doesn't wait for you. As I've said here many times, a friend of mine said a long time ago, in America, the month going to end, and the bill just keep coming, boom, boom, boom.
I mean,
Those building companies are not going to tell you, say, hey, maybe we'll give you this time, that time. Even if sometimes you call them, they might just give you 2 3 days, and then, hey, you got to pay up. And when it comes to your mortgage and your rent, especially those renters, the landlord not going to wait for you, man. Maybe
nope.
your mortgage company, they might add interest or late fees, but but you as a renter, the
Yep.
next thing you start facing like evasion, because
Yep.
and then they start telling you, oh, you should have save for emergency.
Yeah.
But dude, not everyone has the opportunity to save for emergency in this country. It's
Yeah.
like more people are living paycheck to paycheck,
Paycheck to
paycheck to
paycheck. You
paycheck,
always talk
month after
about
month, year
six,
after year.
after
Yeah,
6 months of pay for for rainy days. No, I mean, how can I save up for a rainy day when the sun never came up? I'm always living. I'm always under the rain. So how can I don't have that luxury of putting down like all the way up to 6 months? And I mean, uh, there's a place I used to work in. There was one of my coworkers.
hmm
He's like he couldn't wrap his head around the idea of people not having 6 months, at least 6 months of pay. He's like, I would like die. I would kill myself if I
what
didn't like
is it? What
how,
planet do you live on?
and I'm like, wow, some people got it like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, and depending on who you are and things like that, you might think the same way, like, oh, how can a regular folk go without having 6 months of income? But like we're talking about services and passport service and things, and I also read like during this time, like immigration. Of course, there's immigration crackdown, but those who are even in the process of getting their cases to
hmm
court now,
hmm
there's going to be, they say on average, like 86. What is that? Is it 6,000 either per day, or that's how much is going to be backed up. So
hmm
if there was a backlog, now it's going to be even more. And with all this crackdown that's going on. I don't know if it was in Chicago or where it was, that some people they've been ICE agents have been showing up to immigration appointments, and
hmm
if people show up for their appointment to either adjust status or to get that legal document, then they get picked up at the court, which it just defeats the purpose. Because if I'm trying to go through the right process to
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
right, but then
hmm
I'm still encountering this, and even when you talk about park services, uh, the fall season, yes, is one of the busiest seasons for national parks.
hmm
If those people who keep the parks clean, they are not coming there. I mean, we don't sometimes we don't even think about these things like, oh, how do I go to my local like national park and it's so clean? I don't see like dirt all over the place. People don't just throw garbage everywhere, because there are people that actually come there and clean. But if
Yeah.
people are not available now, then the park is not going to be kept clean.
Exactly, exactly. folks, tonight we are discussing the shutdown. As you all know, the U.S. government went into a shutdown since October 1st, midnight, and that's been going on now for the last 7 days. Today is day 7 of the shutdown. So we just discussing here, right? What happens when the government, when the government closes? Right? I mean, yes, it affects every aspect, every aspect of life in America. You might not notice it, you might not feel it. You think that life is normal, but average folks are suffering out there. Services, non-essential services are going to be suspended. So you can contribute to the conversation tonight by putting a comment in the chat or calling our number 952-594-5154. But another stocks are there, so out there up to on an average, right? On average, it's like 800,000 to 1 million federal employees are impacted by a shutdown. Because the U.S. government employ lots of people,
Mhm.
right? It's like, so I mean, 800,000 to 1 million people. That's no small feat, right? You know what I mean? Those people right now they are full though, right? It's like, I mean, they are not getting paid. And the other thing the administration is doing is that, man, is you wonder some of the things you guys be doing, right? Is like they are saying they might not pay, they might not do back pay for some of those folks that are full low. Okay, he tell the man to work,
Right.
right? To do his job, or maybe like, okay, he decided to shut down the government, that, and but the man is entitled to a pay. Now you say you're not gonna pay him because there's a shutdown, right? Is that how is it gonna again pay his bills? I mean the government is shut down for no, I don't know how long it's gonna be shut down. Now today's day 7. So let's say you go to 1 month. So you're not paying the man for 1 month? Really? what, what are you good? I mean, like, so that's so. I mean, some of the things that you wonder is that, man, what's good? What I mean, what times do we live in these days, right? It's like some of the decisions that have been made so confusing. But that's I mean, those are some of the things the administration is floating right now. Like, those that I follow, they might not get back pay. But I think, I don't think they should go that route. Or again, another one, like they're gonna just fire people.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too. Like,
People, what?
some people are
Yeah,
furloughed
it's like,
and they're not planning to bring them back. So
yeah.
now they're going to, I guess, once the government reopens to
Mhm.
determine who comes back and who they're not going to call back, and some of the justification for that was, I think, from what I heard, the White House press secretary said on NPR the other day was that during this time they're kind of going through to see who, like, which roles are not really necessary or needed because they're trying to cut calls because the previous administration, being a Democratic administration, they have a lot of wasteful spending, so they just employ anybody and everybody to work for the federal government. So now they're looking for places, and the the journalist was pushing her on the, like, how can you employ somebody, then you say, oh, okay, well, we don't need you anymore, so we just
Mhm.
want to, like, either cut your role or something, and this is what the person is depending on, and a lot of this is going to happen during the shutdown. It's not something like, yeah, they're on federal payroll, so they have to take time and look for other positions like that. So uh, just like immigration and other policy areas, this administration is they're getting a lot of people riled up because when you think about it, it's like, oh, and sometimes some people the thing or they add as if it's like surprising, like, oh man, we didn't know this was going to happen during this time or during his term. We just thought everything would be, but sometimes it's not do what you preach or do as you say. Is do as I say, but don't do as I do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, government, that they just need to come to one understanding.
Definitely right. I think, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Even though, as I find myself in that boat, sometimes, okay, I didn't know Project 2025 was going to be was going to be this. I didn't even know. I didn't vote for Project 2025, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't vote for Project 2025. I voted for my man because I thought he was going to improve the economy. So, but it seems like so many things. Project 2025 is full swing. But the other thing, though, right, is like they're going to keep like up to that, like the 800,000 or 1 million like affected employees, like up to 100, up to 420,000 that are considered non-essential. So they force them to stay on the job. Imagine, you know what I mean? They force these people to stay on the job, and then 380,000, up to 380,000, 400,000, sometimes would be furlough. But imagine is that all these people working, right? As we said before, right? Keep saying here, you working, like they have been working for a week now. They don't expect to get paid, right? They don't, they're not going to get paid. So obviously, you know, I hear most of these. The transportation secretary today was making waves. How he says like air traffic controllers and all these major airports like JFK, Boston, yeah, I mean your area, Chicago, her, all of these Newark, New Jersey, right? Is like out of these major airports, air traffic controller, and these are human beings, bro. You know what I mean? Get this right? So these are human beings. People got bills to pay. Everybody got bills to pay. So they have already started calling in. So if the government cannot find a solution to this thing, it's going to get ugly here pretty quick, right? Because number one, this time of the year, though, and that's the other confusing thing. This time of the year, number one is like time, things start getting busy. It's travel season, the holiday season is coming up. So I don't even know why this fight, occurs this time of the year, because it seems to be a busy season. But for some reason, that's when, the government can decided to fight over either policy differences or maybe not putting X, Y, and Z in a budget. Or you know what, if we can't do this, we're not going to pass a budget for the next year or for the next 7 weeks or for the next 12 weeks. So it just makes it so difficult. And these things have real life consequences. The impact is huge. I don't think year after year, for lay people like us, where for most of us, especially in our community, sometimes we overlook these things. But these things have real impact, even in terms of jobs, because the economy, when it impacts the economy, I say a lot of companies, even private companies are somehow connected to the government. And as things start going haywire, guess what? They will start laying people up, right? If they don't trust, where the economy is going, if things are going to get rough. Private companies, these are the first people that will start laying people up. And for them, they're not going to follow you. They're going
No.
to They are not going to follow you with the hope of bringing you back. I mean? They're going to let's say good as say bye bye. What I mean? Is that we don't need you right now because we can't afford you, or we are right now, like times are so uncertain, so we can continue to have X number of employees.
Yeah, so I heard from some network colleagues that uh, those companies that get like government contracts and
Hmm.
things like that, even though they are private, but they pay for government contracts. Right before the shutdown, they come out and say, "Oh, there's been organization like we're reorganizing, organizational. There's been a restructure, and then this position is gone. This one is gone. This one is gone because they're cutting costs." But sometimes, like you said, this has an impact on even private companies because if they don't have enough to pay some of those like top level roles within the company, they can cut people. And it sounds like the government job where they're saying you get it furloughed and then you may or may not come back. And with the current shutdown, like you said, a lot of um, employees have been furloughed, but some of those they don't know which ones, but some of those are not going to come back. Not midnight. Some of those are not going to come back. They're going to just
Hmm.
be laid off. So
Hmm.
it has a real life impact to these men and women that work for the government, even if their roles are considered non-essential. And um, both sides just need to say, okay, because the current administration is saying, okay, why don't the Democrats want to compromise? Well, why don't you want to compromise to what they proposing as well, and you can meet in the middle. I mean, if they healthcare is the number one item for the Democrats. Try to put something in there that will get people interested to say, oh, okay, well, at least it's not everything that we want, but we are getting some of what we want, so we're going to sign for this bill so that the government can reopen because people are getting affected in this country right now.
Yeah, and the other thing, right? About, I mean, I think to me everywhere, that's every in every situation is always a middle ground. There's always a middle ground, right? You can't tell me there can be two extremes, right? It's like, oh yeah, there's no way we can agree. Do especially politicians, right? That's the reason why people, to me, I think like, and that's it. Maybe I hope we can get back to that point where in like, because right now it's like everything seems to be so partisan. Everyone's like have their own tribal corner, and things becoming as these politicians are doing that, right? Things are becoming so toxic. And we
Mhm.
live in an environment right now, right? There's a topic we're coming up, right? This social media world we live in, right? The impact of social media. Sometimes even when these guys are bickering and then they are going on either Twitter or X or Facebook or wherever, right? Making statements, stuff like that. Sometimes it rile up their base or it rile up their people, but it's just making folks so angry. Oh, this person is at fault. Oh, this person is at fault. To me, politics shouldn't be that way, right? I know, everyone these guys trying to win an election, but it shouldn't be that way. The other thing, to your other point though, about certain companies getting contract. I mean, a lot of companies in this country get half U.S. government contract. Even some of the big companies like Amazon, Microsoft. It's like some of the big companies, right, have U.S. government contract, and as these things go on like shut down like this, it affect this company as well.
Yeah,
Because they have employees, that are directly impacted by this thing. So if the government not paying you, for this current fiscal year, guess what? Your employer is going to tell you, say, hey, man, right now we can't afford you because, what I mean, we are dependent on our contract to do X, Y, and Z. So, as I said, these things trickle down even to what the private sector. It's not only limited to the government. And I hope they can find a common ground, and just because it is not then these politicians, most especially I mean, here in America, I mean, everywhere, politicians for some reason, those are all folks that are not even, I don't even call them middle class. These are all millionaires. These are all millionaires. So for
yeah,
them, they don't care about the other people. They're all millionaires. Politicians everywhere, they are millionaires for some reason. If you want to strike it rich, I mean, it's like that might be a conspiracy theory for me, but I think every politician everywhere in the world is a millionaire. They may be poor, but then you end up putting the next
you
million.
know, you become
So
you live in a mansion and
you know. So, and for them, right, these things don't impact them. It impact the folks that are living paycheck to paycheck, folks that have to pay their mortgage, have to pay their bills, or the family that depending on WIC, to your point earlier, or on SNAP, or the farmers out there, that depending on government subsidy, because if you are dependent on government subsidy, that's considered not essential. So guess what? They're not going to they are not going to prioritize that, right? So that's why it is important that year after year this kind of thing shouldn't be going on. And some of us that want, as immigrant will come in this country, we don't even know, is that you wonder, right? And as we open the show, it's like you wonder. Why does it have to be year after year, or maybe like every 3 months, or maybe every 4 months? Oh, there might be a government shutdown. That doesn't even make sense.
yeah, I think the government should work almost like how you have some of these corporations that would set budget like they have this fiscal year, then they have next year like already approved, but then few years down the line, they already have things set in place. Like, okay, well, if everything goes as planned, if we don't hit some obstacle that would cause us to lose maybe customers or
Mm-hmm.
to get a product recalled or something
Mm-hmm.
within 3 or 4 years, this is what it
Yeah.
is. And once it gets to that year, all they have to do is maybe some things have changed. They will have to tweak their
Yep.
budget a little bit, but then they
Hmm.
present it to like either the president or the CEO, and they talk it over. But with the government, it's like a new thing every year. And like you said, sometimes it will go up to the 11 hour and 59 minute, and then they will come to a deal because and that deal they are coming to, not everybody's on board. They will usually they will have whichever administration has the majority, they will be looking for like just few more to add so that they can be able to pass it. And it's not something that everybody is on board to say, oh, okay, well, even though, like we're saying, to come to that middle ground, even though I'm not getting everything that I want,
Hmm.
at least I'm getting majority of what I need or what I want for mine constituents. So, and they have to think about it like I said, this is not your personal
Yeah.
thing. It's not, you're not trying to create budget or trying to fund your personal company. This is for people, regular people who have decided to work in the government, because if they select you or employ you, you have a choice. You can be like,
Hmm.
no, I'm good where I'm at. I don't want to work here. So this is things by choice, and now a lot of them are getting punished for that choice.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And the other thing, right, it's not only like also like human beings, right? Most of the infrastructure projects you see around America, they are
Yep.
funded by the US government and they shut down. I mean, is that one of the they are like all those funding, right? They are considered non-essential again, right? These infrastructure projects, this road work, except
Well,
maybe if the money has been released. If the money hasn't been released, they're telling you say the government and is at the White House discretion will tell you say, hey man, we're not sending. Right now, the government is in shutdown, so we're not sending a penny. I mean, we're not dispersing any penny to any of those projects. So it affects infrastructure project. I mean, it affects so many aspects of life. So I don't think, to your point earlier, we should. I agree with that, right? 3 to 5 year budget and maybe just tweak it every year. Maybe just do a little tweak every year because I don't think much really change, right?
change
Yeah,
exactly.
much.
It's the
I mean, yeah,
same.
it just sometimes just policy differences,
Mhm.
and some of these policy differences are about sometimes social issues or sometimes I mean it's like, but again, I think they shouldn't be year after year because it just doesn't make sense to a lot of us,
Yeah,
and to leave me out there, even though it's impacting him, but it doesn't make sense to him. So I don't think I agree with you. 3 to 5 year and just maybe just do a little tweak every year. And to the politicians out there, man, it's like you run for office to impact, that's what you promise us, to do XYZ. But then when you get there, sometimes, it's like everything changed. So, but I hope, as this thing drags on, because today is day 7, as we have been discussing here, we hope it doesn't drag on any longer because real lives have been impacted. A lot of things are being impacted. So we hope they can find a common ground. But, folks, it's a 1 hour show. We've been having fun here with it for the last 1 hour, as we always do, bring this topic just to create awareness, folks, because you might be saying, hey, how does this affect me? It does. If you are thinking about travel in the next couple of days, you might not have air traffic controller. Even I would say check with your airline, right? Check with your airline. Make sure you're checking. Make sure you're checking your flight before you on your way to the airport, and then your flight is canceled because they say, oh, there are no air traffic controllers or there are no TSA agents and things like that. So hopefully you can check to see what's going on. But Peterson, man, as we try to wrap this up, man, what is the message you want to leave tonight with folks that have been listening to us with? This is one of the things that is trending right now. Besides immigration, this is a trending one right now, right? It is. I mean, sometimes we don't know, but it's impacting us.
yeah. It's been a great 1 hour, and we have a lot of interesting headlines in the news. Uh, it's been immigration, 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 ICE, 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 National Guard, and then a week ago today now with the government shutdown. First, they were thinking that maybe they were going to come to one understanding and something was going to happen so that they can uh, pass the budget and all these needed services can continue, and they can continue to have talks in the bag about
Mhm.
the nuances of the budget or the details about it. But unfortunately, they didn't come to that understanding. But for people out there who's been listening and who depend on these services like Wake and other programs and things like that, we just all hope and pray. Uh, this year, hope is like the biggest word for a better part of this year, because every time something comes up, like, oh, we hope, we hope, we hope. The immigration crisis now. Well, we hope it doesn't help everybody. Military is going to be deployed. Well, we hope they're not
Oh,
deployed.
yeah.
Yeah, and we were hoping the government doesn't get shut down, but it is. So we hope that it doesn't drag any longer. But do not lose hope. There is always something out there. Even if you are a federal employee and you thinking now, like, oh, how do I like pay my uh, bills and things like that? Like it be recommended earlier. Some people might turn to like the gig economy and say, oh, okay, well, I have time on my hands, I'm just sitting down home. It's not like one of those jobs where they say, "Yeah, we're sending you home with pay, but you just sitting down at home while we do some investigation." This one is different. It has a negative impact on a lot of people's lives, because
Mhm.
the number of employees that work for the federal government is a large number, and now that we understand, some of them are considered non-essential. So you basically work, but you can get cut anytime. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
and for those that are furloughed and may not come back in some capacity to work for the federal government, I mean, don't take it as uh, something to retaliate or like be angry about it. Just take it as another thing on your journey, and find something else to do. But we are all hoping and praying that our politicians will come to an understanding and to know that this is having an impact on just the general population, and not just those that are in the federal government as far as employees. So they should try to come to one understanding so that the government can reopen, and all those other policy differences can be decided. But
Yeah.
guys need to come to a compromise, not just point fingers like, no, you need to compromise. No, everybody needs to have that compromise.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I agree with your analogy, right? But hope this year is about hope. Maybe right? That's the word we should, turn it, when when the Webster dictionary come up the word of
Yeah.
the year. Who knows? It might be hope. You
Hope.
know, and text to administration, right? It might be hope. But I do agree with you. The other thing too, right, I think the owners should also be on us, the voters, as we vote for these politicians. Should also realize, okay, why should we be sending folks to Washington every time when they are going to be bickering and fighting among themselves,
Yep.
right? We need to see, yeah, you know what I mean? Is that if they can find common ground, because in our own lives, in our own homes, right, at our jobs, our places of worship and work, we are finding compromises. I mean, the one thing I love about America when you travel, some of the things you hear on national news or in our politics, you wonder, is okay, but it is not America though. How
Exactly.
are politicians making America the way it's like,
It is.
it's an angry country. It
Mhm.
is so, it is so out of touch. Things are happening. Man, look, I go to a blue state, a red state, a purple state.
Mhm.
America is a beautiful place to be. People, the folks are nice. For some reason, politicians making it like it is some place like I don't recognize what I hear on national TV about America. Sometimes even our politics, I don't recognize it, and maybe it's up to we the voters, right, to start saying, okay, how can we maybe start sending people down there who truly represent America, right? It's like who truly represent this country, because ordinary Americans, I always I tell one of my friends all the time, right? I say everybody sometimes just want to pay their bills, man, because at the end of the day, that's what's important in this country. Raise their family and pay their bills.
That's
You
it.
know, you know, that's that's what that's the responsibility the country puts on you. Raise a
Mhm.
family and pay your bills. All the other
Yeah,
one are noise.
it's all noise.
The rest of it are noise. And like when I see people stretching their vein about stuff, I say, do at the end of the day, guess what? If you pay your bill, you you and your bill collector are gonna get,
That's
you gonna get through it. You're gonna get frustrated. I mean, so man, yeah. So I think the owners on we the voters as well, right? We should maybe as this election comes around, as we are talking about it, our civic responsibility, we should also start thinking about who are we sending to these state houses or to these, to Washington or this governor mansion. Are they really representing our interests, or it's all about them? So,
yeah.
but
Yeah, it's
it,
like you were saying earlier. One
mhm,
thing, like a lot of these, they have the aspiration to like better themselves. So you take some guy who, whether he's a college dropout or not, he's been struggling to start a business and it's not working. It's like, hey, okay, what can I like go to make it? What about going to government and
yeah,
then they come and they sell you on something because a lot of them we don't know their background to say, oh,
no,
okay, this is how. Whenever there's a policy debate, this is how we know this person is going to go. So we
mhm.
don't have that history or data for them. So
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, folks, that concludes the end of our show tonight. It's been a good topic, man. As always, my man Peterson and I, we are here every Tuesday, discussing these juicy topic. Might seem boring, but creating awareness, for you folks, so that we shouldn't be in the dark because these things affect us, right? We shouldn't be in the dark. You're worrying about it, but we'll put our own spin on it and say, this is what's happening, things like that. So, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow for our business segment, and then we'll be back here again Thursday, and then Friday, the social segment where in and now I hear that there's three folks, you know, three folks, two ladies and one guy be ducking it out. So hopefully, hopefully, you guys are, Psycho Podcast, where we are here to bring you good entertainment 5 days a week. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you guys back here tomorrow and for the rest of the week. Thank you and have a good night.
good night.